Today I'm going to explain a terrifying Thai horror movie inspired by one of Japan's most legendary folktales. Imagine being trapped deep inside a cave during World War II, only to discover that a monstrous creature has been lurking there for centuries, waiting for its next victims. This movie combines war, survival, mystery, and supernatural horror in a way that keeps getting darker with every minute. Its name is Omukade, and trust me, this is not your typical creature horror film. So sit back, relax, and let's dive straight into this chilling story. At the beginning of the movie, we see some miners who were digging inside a cave, when suddenly, gripped by fear, they all start running out of that cave because there was some kind of demonic creature inside it, and that creature starts killing them one by one. After this, Akira narrates his story to us, which begins in 1945 during World War II, and at that time, Akira was a lieutenant commander in the Japanese army. He had come to Thailand with his commander and a massive army because Thailand had given them permission to build a bridge stretching from Thailand to Burma. With the help of that bridge, the Japanese army could easily transport food, weapons, and other supplies to Burma. Now, the commander had actually forced war prisoners, local people, and people from other villages to do the construction work of the bridge. However, the work was progressing very slowly because they had a shortage of labor. For this reason, the commander arrives there, starts scolding Akira, and tells Akira to get the bridge work completed as quickly as possible. Now, Akira tells us that the villagers had refused to help build the bridge, so the commander took those villagers captive. But the leader of that village, Nautong, managed to escape along with his daughter. Yet now, Nautong keeps freeing his fellow villagers as well as other people. They had even sent some men to kill Nautong, but they never returned. And we see that the soldiers sent by the commander to catch Nautong did not return because they were presumably eliminated by that demonic creature. Now, Akira also shares that the locals say a mythological creature resides inside the caves of the hills, which is called Omukade in Japanese folklore, which translates to the Great Centipede. Following this, we see a Thai man named Bunchu, who used to arrange labor for Akira. Currently, a laborer named Ra and his companions had come with him, who wanted to leave that place. But Bunchu says that their contract is not completed yet, so they still have to work. After this, Akira arrives there and tells Bunchu to arrange even more labor. Following that, we see some girls whom a lady named Mao was bringing for the commander. Among those girls, one girl happens to be Nautong's daughter, Sano, and she wore a pendant around her neck that Nautong had crafted for her. Anyway, the scene shifts to the night, and the commander goes to Sano and begins to torture her. However, Sano had come there on a specific mission, and that mission was to rescue and take a man away from there. But as a bonus, she also got the opportunity to eliminate the commander because the commander had burned down Sano's village and slaughtered a vast number of people. And because of this, Sano avenges herself by finishing off the commander. From her fighting skills, we could tell that she had been practicing martial arts for a long time. Just then, we see a man named Rinja, who is Akira's associate. They had come to the commander's base because they received word that someone had eliminated the commander and some of his men. Therefore, Akira had gone there to investigate who did all that. And he learns from Mao that a girl did everything. Now, Akira orders his men to capture Sano, and on the other side, we see Sano, who was escaping from there disguised in a Japanese soldier's uniform. When suddenly Bunchu approaches her, and we find out that Bunchu himself had called Sano there because they needed to extract a US soldier named Tim from that place. Tim wanted to get out and inform the US Army about this bridge. Now, Sano, Bunchu, and Tim had to cross a lake to escape from there. However, pursuing them, 2 Japanese soldiers arrive there, and they capture the 3 of them and were taking them away. But Ra and his companion show up at that moment, and both of them eliminate those Japanese soldiers. Then, keeping Bunchu, Sano, and Tim at gunpoint, these 2 order them to move out as well, and they begin to cross the lake. Just then, tracking Sano, Bunchu, and Tim, Akira, his associate Lieutenant Tamura, Rinja, and a few other soldiers also reach the lake. And there, they find an extinguished cigarette that only Bunchu used to smoke. And Akira realizes that Bunchu is a traitor. And Akira was now going to capture and eliminate Bunchu along with Sano. Anyway, now we see a large number of massive centipedes on top of a hill. However, they were quite small compared to that centipede from the cave. In other words, they are the offspring of that cave centipede, aka Omukade, and they take down a fully grown elephant. Now, the next day, we see that Sano had actually brought Bunchu and the others inside the very cave where Omukade resides. And that cave actually led all the way to Burma. And Sano tells Bunchu that her father, Nautong, sends the prisoners he rescues to Burma through this exact cave. Now, Sano did not know that Nautong might have actually been killed, and she thought he had simply gone missing. And for this reason, she had come to look for her father inside that cave because her father was last seen inside this very cave. Now, Sano does not reveal all of this to Bunchu and merely says that Nautong is actually busy with some very important work, which is why she has come there herself. Anyway, Sano now goes deeper into the cave, and everyone else follows behind her. Since they had been walking since last night, they begin to rest inside the cave, while Sano goes to bathe nearby, and Ra follows her to peek at her. But Sano had hidden underwater, and when Ra approaches her, she emerges from the water and holds a knife to his neck. But just then, what happens is that Akira and his men arrive there, who had eliminated Ra's companion. And hearing the gunshot, Ra also flees inside the cave. But the only problem was that those caves were spread throughout the entire hill, and the map for the correct way out was with Sano. Now, Rinja tells Akira that there should be 5 people there, out of whom they have already eliminated 1, and 2 were still missing from that spot. So, Rinja goes to check that watery cave where Sano was, and a centipede was right near her, and Rinja eliminates that centipede. And we find out that Rinja also used to live in Sano's village, and they both were very good friends. But obviously, after the invasion, things had become quite difficult here. Right then, we see that Akira was about to execute Bunchu by shooting him for his betrayal. But just then, US Air Force planes arrive outside, and they actually blow up the bridge and the Japanese army base with heavy bombing. Now, those planes were returning after completing the bombing run. However, while heading back, they start shooting at Akira and his men as well. And they were bombing them too. In the chaos, one of Akira's men was crushed and killed under the collapsing cave structures. And Tim eliminates another associate by crushing his head with a rock. And now the exit path was completely blocked. So, Bunchu holds Tamura at gunpoint and then flees deeper into the cave along with Tim. Now, 3 teams had been formed: Akira and Tamura, Sano and Rinja, and Tim and Bunchu. Over there, Sano and Rinja encounter Ra along the way, who holds them at gunpoint. But Sano and Rinja try to fight back against him. However, they are unable to stop Ra. So, both of them endure Ra and flee from that spot. Now, we see Bunchu and Tim, who had found a lantern. So they light it up and begin to move forward inside the cave. On the other side, Ra reaches Sano and Rinja once again, and he begins to attack both of them with a pickaxe. But those 2 fight him off and they wound him as well, causing Ra to fall into a hollow space below the cave. Because of this, he loses consciousness right there. And while falling down, he had grabbed Sano's pendant to save himself. However, that pendant also fell down along with him. Meanwhile, Tamura takes 2 grenades from the corpse of his comrade whose head Tim had crushed. And when the 2 of them approach the corpse of their other comrade, they see that the comrade's corpse was halved, and someone had dragged half of the body away with them, which was a pretty weird thing. Anyway, on the other side, when Ra regains consciousness, he sees that he is surrounded by countless centipedes on all sides, when suddenly a juvenile Omukade appears there and finishes Ra off. Just then, we see Sano, who was searching for a rope to climb down and retrieve her necklace, meaning that pendant. But Rinja stops her and gets ready to go down himself. When Rinja goes down, he does not find Ra's corpse down there, but he finds Sano's pendant, and he begins to head back up with the pendant. But just then, he hears a strange sound, and right at that moment, Ra attacks him. However, it was not Ra, but rather a juvenile Omukade inside Ra's body that was controlling his body, and he had become incredibly fast and strong. And with great difficulty, Sano frees Rinja from Ra, and Ra showed no signs of stopping. But the moment his head is detached, Ra drops down because the situation was that the Omukade juvenile would enter a person's head and take control of their brain. Basically, people turned into zombies. And if the man's head gets cut off, the baby Omukade's head gets cut off too. And this was the only way to kill them. Now, on the other side, Bunchu and Tim encounter a man who was controlled by a baby Omukade. And he attacks both of them. And despite being hit by many bullets, nothing happens to him. So, Tim pours alcohol over the man, sets him on fire, and eliminates him. Meaning there was a second method too. On the other side, we see Sano, who reveals the whole truth to Rinja that she has come inside this cave to look for her father, Natong. However, from everything she had witnessed there, it was clear that her father was no longer alive. Just then, Bunchu and Tim are shown approaching the body of that eliminated man to check what exactly had happened to him. Right then, that man's body automatically begins to move and twitch on its own. After this, the scene shifts to Akira and Tamura, who had also come quite deep inside the cave, and they see a large amount of blood on the ground inside. And when Tamura shines his light up at the cave ceiling, he sees the halved body of his comrade up there, and Tamura starts to panic upon seeing it. Now, before he could tell Akira everything, Bunchu arrives there, who, shockingly, had been taken over by the baby Omukade emerging from the corpse of that eliminated man. And he attacks Tamura and Akira. Now, Tamura slices Bunchu's jaw with his sword. However, that Omukade juvenile was still attached to Bunchu's head, and therefore he starts attacking both of them again. But just in time, Tamura decapitates Bunchu and the baby Omukade, and only then does it finally end. Now, upon being asked by Sano, Rinja tells her that Akira had saved his life. He says that a year ago he had contracted malaria and was on the verge of dying, but Akira got him treated and saved him. Then we see Akira and Tamura, and they find a massive centipede shell. So, Tamura tells Akira that in Japanese folklore, there is a creature named Omukade, and they are enormous centipedes. However, they possess the power to paralyze people with their venom and then enter their bodies to control them. Meaning, whatever was happening until now was exactly due to this. Anyway, over there, Rinja and Sano hear the voices of Akira and Tamura, who had come quite close to them, and they also hear the sound of the mountain shaking. Now, Rinja tells Sano to leave that spot, and he goes towards Akira and Tamura himself, who were mistaking Rinja for an Omukade as well. But Rinja had a torch in his hand, and the Omukade are terrified of fire. Therefore, Akira and Tamura's suspicion is cleared. However, Tamura had shared another method with Akira to kill the Omukade, stating that if saliva is applied to the blade, meaning the edge of the sword, the Omukade can be sliced. Otherwise, centipedes have a hard shell on their bodies that cannot be penetrated. Over there, Sano spots Natong, who seemed to be under the control of the Omukade. Yet Sano follows him anyway, but he suddenly vanishes. So Sano takes out her pendant and begins using it like a whistle. But hearing that sound, Rinja starts running toward her because that noise could attract even more baby Omukade to Sano. Now, over there, Sano finds Tim, who had managed to escape, and Bunchu had been eliminated and controlled by the Omukade, which we have already seen. Right then, Tim finds a rifle and Sano finds a knife. And before the two could escape from there, they see that there were many people who were controlled by the baby Omukade. And they all attack them, so the two begin to eliminate them one by one. And the method to finish them off was either to separate their head from their body or to shoot them in the head. Just then, Sano and Tim begin to move forward from there. However, the mother Omukade drags Tim and Sano away with her. Later, when Rinja, Akira, and Tamura reach there, they only find Sano's pendant, and bloodstains were splattered on the ground right there. Anyway, following the tracks, the three of them reach a chamber covered with bamboo. And inside it was Natong, meaning Sano's father, who was still alive and had somehow survived the Omukade. However, he was not in his right senses because he was killing and eating the baby Omukade. And that is how he was staying alive there. Perhaps a bit of their venom had entered his system. Anyway, Rinja now shows him Sano's pendant, and Natong instantly regains his senses. But he flew into a rage upon seeing Akira and Tamura's uniforms. So, Rinja tells those two to step outside. And after they leave, Natong tells Rinja that he was leading the prisoners, meaning the captives, away after freeing them. But just then, Japanese soldiers pursued them, and they ended up entering the wrong cave. Now, out of the prisoners who were with him, half escaped from the cave, and the other half fell prey to the Omukade. However, Natong himself fell into a hole, and that hole was too small for the Omukade. So that is how Natong stayed safe. Now, Rinja informs Natong that the Omukade has taken Sano away, and they had to go to the Omukade to rescue her. Now, Natong tells Rinja to apply a liquid to his body, and this liquid was actually the saliva of the baby Omukade. In other words, anyone who used that saliva would be mistaken for one of them. Now, Tamura was extremely terrified because escaping from there was highly difficult. But even if they managed to get out, there was another problem. If they lost the war, they would have to take their own lives. And Tamura did not want to eliminate himself because he had a wife and a little daughter. Now, we see Natong and Rinja, who were heading out to save Sano. And Natong was explaining that he knows the way out, but reaching there is incredibly difficult. And Akira and Tamura were overhearing all of this conversation, and both of them begin to follow behind them. Now, along the way, Rinja finds shreds of Sano's clothing, and they follow the traces. And moving ahead, they encounter a massive crowd of people controlled by the Omukade who were doing mining work there. And all these people were the ones from the beginning of the movie who had been controlled. Anyway, Rinja and Natong pass through them very easily. And Natong tells Rinja that the mother Omukade stores some food to feed her offspring, meaning she must have definitely kept Sano alive too. Another thing, wherever centipedes are visible, the Omukade will be nearby, because the Omukade is the queen of the centipedes. Basically, the main massive Omukade, meaning the mother Omukade, is the queen of everyone there. Anyway, after this, we see Akira and Tamura who were tracking Rinja and Natong. However, they step on a centipede and all those Omukade-controlled people attack the two of them. Over there, Rinja and Natong had located the mother Omukade, and both Sano and Tim were inside her belly, and both were alive. But the problem was that the mother Omukade was about to give birth to offspring again. So, they had to rescue Sano and Tim as quickly as possible. If she gave birth to the offspring, everyone here would be killed. Meanwhile, over there, Akira and Tamura were still fighting. However, getting frightened, all the Omukade flee from that area. But just then, that same elephant arrives there which the Omukade had eliminated, meaning that exact scene from the beginning. And now the Omukade were controlling that elephant, which had become incredibly fast, and neither bullets nor swords had any effect on it. Right then, both of them begin to run from there. However, that elephant drives its tusks right through Tamura's body and lifts him into the air. And right here, Tamura makes the ultimate sacrifice, and he detonates the grenades that he had picked up earlier. And along with that elephant, Tamura is blown to pieces, meaning what would happen to his wife and child now was completely unknown. And I mean, this movie is shown set during wartime, so just think about how people must have felt back then. Anyway, Rinja and Natong had freed Tim and Sano, but right then, the mother Omukade gives birth to a massive number of baby Omukade, and they begin to attack everyone, and since they were numerous, Rinja and Natong somehow shield them from the baby Omukade, because they had applied the Omukade's saliva, so the juvenile Omukade were not attacking those two. They were perceiving them as one of their own, and after this, they all begin to flee from there as fast as possible. And the mother Omukade was pursuing them. But because of this action, there was a lot of commotion inside the cave, obviously because her size was quite massive. And due to this, the cave begins to collapse, and the mother Omukade gets trapped inside it. Now, Akira was left behind, and he was quite badly injured too. So, Rinja carries him along with him. However, the cave begins to cave in once more. So, Rinja somehow tries to hold up the cave structures until everyone else escapes. And for this reason, he begins to sacrifice himself. Then, everyone quickly dives into the pool that was situated at the bottom of the cave. Yet, everyone manages to get out of the pool. However, what happens is that the mother Omukade had grabbed Sano, and despite trying very hard, she was not letting her go. So, Sano stabs the knife into the Mother Omukade's head, which she had picked up earlier, and the Mother Omukade releases Sano, but Sano's breathing had stopped due to this. Yet just in time, Renja arrives there, who had managed to escape the cave at the exact right moment. And he takes Sano out of the pool, but Sano's breathing had stopped, and despite trying hard, her breath was not returning. When suddenly the Mother Omukade appears there again, possessing only half her body, and she starts attacking everyone once more. But because of this, what happens is that Sano's breathing resumes, and she begins to attack the Mother Omukade. And in no time, everyone else was attacking her too, and together they completely pulverized the Mother Omukade. And with her final strike, Sano just finishes the Mother Omukade's story for good. And I don't know why I feel this way, but maybe the Mother Omukade had somehow transferred some of her senses into Sano. I mean, if that had happened, it would have been so great, making this movie even more full of twists. Anyway, after this, they all now exit from the other side of the cave and they were now in Burma. But after walking a bit, they reach a road, and there they encounter 2 US Army soldiers. Tim informs them that they have escaped from Thailand. So those soldiers inform them that they have won World War II, meaning Japan had lost. And hearing this news, Akira breaks down in tears, and he became incredibly sorrowful. But not because he would now have to live as a prisoner of war. Rather, it was because he would no longer be able to take care of Tamura's wife and little daughter. And now, at the end of the movie, Tim and those 2 soldiers take Akira along with them. And now, Akira was a prisoner of war. And with that, Omukade comes to an end. So guys, this was the story of the Thai horror movie Omukade. I hope you enjoyed the movie. This movie is based on a piece of Japanese folklore. It's centered around the legendary creature known as Omukade. Other than that, there is nothing much left to explain here. The story blends World War II history with horror elements centered around the mythical creature Omukade. I hope you liked the movie. If you liked it, drop a like on the video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe. Until then, stay spooky.